Pre-K. Today I'm going to share a story with you. It's called In a Small, Small Pond by Denise Fleming. See if you can move like the animals in this book as we read it together. In a small, small pond, wiggle, jiggle, tadpoles wiggle. Can you wiggle like a tadpole? Waddle, wade, geese parade. How do you waddle? What does that look like? Hover, shiver, wings quiver. Can you fly like a dragonfly? Drowse, doze, eyes close. What do you look like when you're sleeping? Lash, lunge, herons plunge. What does it mean to plunge, do you think? Splitter, splatter, minnows scatter. Can you scatter like minnows? What do you think that would look like? Circle, swirl, whirligigs twirl. Can you twirl like a whirligig? What is a whirligig? Can you tell from the picture? Swoop, sweep, swallow, scoop. Can you scoop like a swallow or swoop like a swallow? Click, clack, claws, crack. Can you crack your claws? Dabble, dip, tails flip. How do you flip your tail? Splish, splash, paws flash. Pile, pack, muskrat stack. Chill breeze, winter freeze. Where would you go if you were cold? Good night, sleep tight, small, small pond. It's a good place to hide if you're cold, don't you think? Today, we're going to learn a little bit about an insect that lives in ponds called a water strider. Now, water striders can float on the surface of the water. They're even better floaters than ducks. They have tiny microscopic hairs on their legs that help them to be really good floaters. Do you remember when we did that sink float experiment? We learned about things that sink and things that float. Let's just review a little bit about sinking and floating. Materials that float. Some things can float, like boats, right? Things that float can be flat, like a raft. Check out the water strider picture. Does a water strider look like it's a flat insect? Kind of, right? It kind of stays flat against the water. Just like that raft. Things that float can be heavy. That's kind of weird, right? You would think that things that float would sink, but like, look at this big ship. It's floating. Things that float can be light, like a feather. Materials that sink. Some things can sink. Things that sink can be light, like coins are pretty light, but they sink, don't they? Things that sink can be heavy. Things that sink can be solid. Materials that float and sink. Wood can float, but wood can also sink. Metal can float, but metal can also sink. Paper can float, but paper could also sink, right? What happens when the paper, when it gets all wet? It's going to probably sink. Glass can float if it's empty, but it can sink if it's full. Things that float stay on top of the water, and things that sink go to the bottom of the water. So water striders are an insect that float on the top of the water. They're pretty amazing little insects. They have 3 sets of legs, just like all insects do, right? So 3 on each side, right? Their front legs they use for eating or holding their food. Their middle legs they use for paddling, and their back legs are for steering and braking. Some water striders can even fly and have wings. And water striders move very quickly. They can travel at speeds of 100 body lengths per second. That would kind of be like your dad being able to swim 400 miles in an hour. Pretty amazing, right? You get to make your own water strider today and then play with it. So all you need to make your water strider is your other popsicle stick with the eyes on it, and your pipe cleaner, and you'll need some scissors to cut it, and then use something to color, some markers or crayons. To attach your pipe cleaners, you're probably going to need to use tape or something strong like hot glue if you have it to get it to stick. And then, once you have built your water strider, if your parents say it's okay, I want you to ask them first. If they say it's okay, go ahead and see if your water strider can float. So let's test mine out and see if mine can float. Can everybody see that? Do you see my water strider floating on the water? Pretty cool, right? So try it. And maybe you can even test out other things and see if they sink and float if your mom and dad say it's okay. Don't make a mess. Be nice to your mom and dad, right? All right. It was great seeing all of you. Hope to see you again soon. Have fun. Bye.